been done on a mind-body approach to mental health. This is connected to and run through Nithyananda Hindu University, and I think it's really groundbreaking, and I'm super excited to talk about it. Then Muktananda is going to give an unclutching meditation, which is, this presentation is going to be part lecture and part experiential as well. So you should come out of here both informed and very blissfully relaxed. That will be our goal. If we achieve that, we've met our goals. Then Dr. Aranke, who's a practicing neurologist, who's connected with Nichandeshwara Paramashiva Hindu Temple in Houston, and Dr. Sandeep Pandov, who's a hospitalist connected with Johns Hopkins, Howard County, and Dr. Nirmala Shivaji, who's a urogynecologist at the Women's Health Excellence Center. She's going to talk about women's mental health issues. Then Dr. Patel, who's a psychiatrist who's representing Kailasa, Los Angeles, and also practicing in the community, who's going to talk about mental health and children's issues. And then finally, I'll give a conclusion and a call to action. And for everyone who is able to stay, we're going to have a kriya, which is a technique for stress reduction. That'll be really nice. So it should be a very enriching and enlightening experience for everyone. And we're very happy to have you here. Briefly, this Science Summit is geared at how we can bring new scientific innovations to help the UN achieve its sustainable development goals. We picked goal number 1, no poverty, number 3, good health and well-being, and number 16, peace, justice, and strong institutions, for organizing this and for having us here. Just a couple estimates, 2.5 to 5 trillion US dollars annual cost of mental health. That's looking at direct costs of clinical care and hospitalization, as well as indirect costs of lost work. And I'm going to posit that the cost of less than optimal mental health is so much higher in terms of lost potential.
Mental health webpage. Essentially, mental health is a state of well-being where we are able to cope with life's daily challenges, have great relationships on a daily, regular basis, learn to work well. You know that COVID only made this problem much worse. And today's estimates are probably a quarter to a third higher than what we saw in 2019. WHO predicts that half of everyone in the world at some point before they reach the age of 75 will experience mental health issues. And that is a huge number, right? That goes into the billions. And those in poverty are 2.5 times more likely to be affected compared to others. And this really identified or addressed. So in that sense, we not only treat mental health, but also enhance mental health ahead of time and then prevent it from happening. This is far cheaper, more effective, and more sustainable. Instead of just handling emotions, we should handle the source of emotions, address the mind-body system as a whole. And Dr. Peter is going to talk about, have an entire session on how to address the mind-body system. Instead of just controlling thoughts, and we do not have these incompletions. It gives us more freedom, more empowerment in the present moment so that we can reach our full potential in the future. A key part of this is having powerful cognitions, which are deep insights about yourself and the world that help you unlock your true potential by breaking free from limiting patterns. Let's look at this a little bit more in the next slide. So next slide, please. See, powerful cognitions go beyond positive thinking. They go towards transforming, confirmed by research. Scientific research has shown that some people can achieve something like this, which no ordinary person would think of themselves as capable of, but we are capable of extraordinary things. So a powerful cognition would be something that alters how you see yourself. Like the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism said, we are not human beings striving for a spiritual experience.
The section is titled Qualitative and Quantitative Studies of Mind-Body Approach to Mental Health. And we love your questions and welcome them. Please feel free to put them. We're also, time is moving quickly, so we're going to have to move fast. We have a lot to cover. So this presentation is brought to you by Nithyananda Hindu University. I'm representing the research department of Nithyananda Hindu University. And this is a university that is styled after the ancient Vedic, ancient Hindu universities from ancient. Starting from birth as a yogi, he has achieved high consciousness and enlightenment and incarnation status. And from that space, he has reestablished the United States of Kailasa, which is a Hindu civilizational nation in service to Hinduism. It also has sovereign land as a sovereign state, also functions as a civilizational state, to Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, sometimes as Swamiji, which is a way that we refer to him, which is an address of tremendous respect and tremendous affection because of the positivity he's brought to our life. So consciousness. So some of the programs that have been brought by Swamiji are going to have tremendous effects at the cellular and physiologic level. And then I'll be talking about those researches that have been done and then how it shows up in the mental health of participants, which you'll see some remarkable findings. And then we're going to talk about what is going on in the mind. Some of them would have already known, been part of this enlightenment ecosystem, would have already known Swamiji, and some of them would have been new. And so the Dr. Rao, he drew blood and measured gene expression before and after the program. And they looked at hundreds of different genes being expressed, and they found huge changes in gene expression in multiple pathways. But the ones I'm going to highlight here are the pro-inflammatory pathways, which create inflammation in the system, which will, at the cellular level, be inflammation, but at the system-wide level will show up as stress and disease. Many of these pro-inflammatory pathways were downregulated. And when I say downregulated, it means like 2 to 7-fold in reduction of the proteins, of the gene products. And then the anti-inflammatory pathways studied, they said, let's look at telomerase activity, and let's look at peripheral blood stem cells. Telomerase is an enzyme that works to keep the cell genetically young. And many people know about telomeres. It's been very much talked about in the mainstream recently. The telomeres are like the aging system of the cells at the DNA level. When the telomeres in the chromosomes and the DNA get short, then the cell can no longer reproduce the organelles inside the cell that create power for the cell, energy for the cell. And so their metabolism was increased. This is actually not a typo. You see it's 967%. It's not a typo, it's really true. Basically 10-fold increase in mitochondrial metabolism. So you would expect that to show up in a massive surge of energy. So when you put together at the cellular level a huge surge in energy, combine that with anti-aging, rejuvenation, and then reduction in stress, now we looked at how does that show up at the level of the person's mental health. So this was a study that was done a couple years ago, and it's being put into manuscript right now. There was another mind-body therapeutic program. This was called Paramashivoham, and we'll show you at the end. It is available on Mind-Body Approach to Life. But afterwards, it dropped all the way to 6.1. Average is 18 to 6.1, a huge difference. And for the depression score, anything above 10 means depression. 5.7 is the average. For this, the post scores were 2, 2.7. So much, much lower than average and very far from depression. So this is going to show up as a really great state of well-being. And then we looked at anxiety. Above 8 is considered as an anxious person. The average in the US is around 6, so almost anxious. 5, well-being index. So this goes from 0 to 100, where a higher score is a higher sense of well-being. Less than 50 is going to correlate with depression. And for example, one population we looked at in research was women in infertility. The score is about 53. In many, 5 out of the 9 met statistical significance. And they were also clinically significant. I just included a couple graphs here. The total score, you can see it's going up for just about everyone. And then social functioning is going up for just about everyone. So again, increased mental and physical health. Particularly the mitochondrial assay, you'll never see anything like that. And all the other changes, the stem cells, the telomerase activity, the gene expression, and then these changes in mental health. So to better understand that, a lot of science has been done with Swamiji, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam. So I'm going to talk about a few scientific studies. First, Arkita from Sound Health Designs in Wichita, and this was in 2005 and 2006. And they measured studied a variable called heart rate variability, which shows variability within the heart rate that reflects the autonomic system and how at ease someone is. You could say it's very complex. We don't have time to go into it further. But the key finding is when he would do healing on someone, they would completely sync up their heart rate variability. Means a complete cohesion and entrainment was happening. So he could completely kind of shut off the mind, and it would show up at the EEG level. That shocked the researcher. And then when he would go into meditation, there would be a huge surge in gamma waves, which we'll talk about shortly, the significance of gamma waves. But the key part is when he was healing, his right heart of brain would go into what the researcher called extreme gamma activity, which I think is likely to be high amplitude gamma waves, and I'll explain why. But then the person he was healing, when he was doing direct one-on-one healing, they went into the same increase on the other person, like the things that we demonstrated earlier. So he was able to transmit it to people he was healing. Some quotes that said from Dr. Collins that he couldn't believe that he said there's no such thing as normal for you. He couldn't believe that his baseline level of deep restorative sleep, or if you were like in a coma. Theta waves, these are 4 to 8 hertz. These will correlate if you're in REM sleep, if you're daydreaming, if you're in a deep meditation but not sleeping, or very drowsy. This is what you'll have. Beta waves would be, we'll go to alpha waves here. Alpha waves are the next state. They go from 8 to 12 hertz. This is if you're awake and alert and the light bulb goes off, there'll be a little flash of gamma activity. But just for a second, and only when that insight strikes, which you can't bank on, right? It's like when the muse speaks to the artist, like that. It's also connected with enhanced creativity. Interestingly, it can also be created through spiritual activities and mind-body interventions. The last group I'll talk about is long-term meditators. These were Tibetan Buddhists that have been meditating for 10 to 20 years, like their whole lifestyle was meditation. Like monks that would meditate for 6 hours a day, or a huge amount of meditation. This came out in 2004 by Dr. Davidson in Wisconsin, a really breakthrough publication. When they're developing this capacity, which means this level, which we're positing as a space of super consciousness, very high level of consciousness that correlates with concepts of enlightenment that have been talked about throughout history. This level, this capacity can be built in people and built in large groups of people over time. So this is raw data of an EEG of a very high level disciple of Swamiji, and you can see gamma activity is over 30 oscillations between these two are yogic shaktis that are beyond the scope of this presentation. But while doing these things, they'll describe a very low TPS, which again, TPS is thoughts per second, means completely quiet mind. And their whole sense of space will be just completely spacious and unclutched. So we're really excited about this. I think it has tremendous significance for humanity on many levels. And we're excited to research it further. So we'll be connection to higher consciousness, yoga pada, yoga and pranayamas, and meditations and kriyas. We'll be doing all of these experiential in this presentation. And then knowing pursuit of powerful cognitions means knowing yourself as a very powerful, connected being that is worthy of having this life experience and can express this life experience. And one thing that I think is connected all throughout the world, Hindu diaspora, people who have come from Hindu civilizations or backgrounds and spread all over the world, they have extremely...
Audio is not, it's not audible, Peter.
Sorry, let me get back there. 1 second.
Fight, destroy, play with any thinking process in you. That's it. Do not create, sustain. In few seconds, you will see you are not thinking process. You are beyond your thinking process. Pure. Sit straight, close your eyes and clutch. Decide to unclutch. Disengage, unclutch from all thought process.
Use the word unclutch, and but after a little while, you can just unclutch without using that word itself. You would see that. So
Are you able to hear it now?
no.
How about now?
More visible to you. Sometimes the blood pumping through your heart becomes more audible to you. Unclutch from those also. So there is as you hear things, those are also thoughts. They're triggering thoughts inside of you. So next time, just keep unclutching deeper and deeper, and you'll see this deep sense of silence coming in. So it's a great technique. You can try it anytime. There's no specific time or place where you should do this. You can do it anytime. With that, I'll invite Dr. Aranke and Dr. Sandeep and Dr. Nirmala to take us on to the next session. Thank you.
Kind of quantified the mood based on validated scales, looking at anxiety and depression. We have seen that yoga and meditation has a positive effect, but recently we're able to actually look at the brain structure itself and brain functioning and how it actually is affected negatively in depression and positively in yoga and meditation. And then Dr. Panda will be talking about the role of the gut-brain axis. So it turns out not only the brain is important, can make a huge impact, and it could reduce the costs associated with current treatment model based on medications, therapy, which is expensive, medications have side effects. And so we can go on to the next slide. The cingulate cortex. And even our ability to empathize with others are affected due to loss of brain cells in the cingulate cortex. Also, depression negatively impacts the basal ganglia, which is a part of the brain involved in pathways for reward, motivation, and feeling pleasure. And so we can go on to the next slide. So not only brain cells, and this can happen throughout the lifespan. So this in itself is like very groundbreaking information. And it turns out yoga and meditation, which costs nothing, can in fact regenerate areas of the brain. So they've looked at, for example, in yoga practitioners, certain regions of the brain have higher volume or more gray matter or neurons. For example, the medial and superior frontal gyrus. This is an area responsible, executive functioning, so in other words, planning activities, social cognition, which lead us to interact well with others, the presental and parahippocampal gyrus disorders. And in fact, this area, interestingly, it ends up being a little bit reduced in volume, telling us that maybe yoga practitioners have lower levels of fear or tendency for fear. And we can move on to the next slide. Now we can move on to what we found in practitioners of meditation. So they have been studied structurally, but also functionally. So we have functional MRI studies which look more than the brain structure. It looks at different areas of brain that are activated during certain tasks. And basically, functional MRI studies have shown that there's increased activation in practitioners of meditation in regions of the brain involved in it, and may explain why many practitioners of meditation experience a sense of bliss during their meditation. Also, imaging studies have looked at the thickness of the cortex. This contains the brain cells or neurons. And it turns out that meditators at baseline have a higher level of serotonin. And it, in fact, further increases after a meditation session, which is very interesting. They also tend to have a lower level of norepinephrine. This is a brain chemical associated with anxiety. And they've been shown to have increased amounts of dopamine as well. The dopamine is the brain chemical responsible for the feeling of pleasure or reward. Interested through a 12-week program of yoga, and they measured their amount of anxiety and depression before, after, and looked at a brain chemical called GABA, which is very important for regulating our mood and reducing anxiety.
For the input, basically the gut-brain axis is a very important axis. These days there's a buzzword, healthy gut microbiome. So before we talk about that, we should know what gut-brain axis is. So basically the brain is connected to the gut by a vagus nerve. So what it means is what happens in the gut affects what happens in the brain. So the next question comes is, how can we impact the gut in the best possible way? So, the whole food plant-based diet, which is called Sattvic diet, which basically comprises of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, beans, and least amount of unprocessed food and meat, bowel movements. So basically what it does is, since it is high in fiber, so people get relief from constipation, and so there is less of inflammation in the gut lining. So it reduces all the inflammatory diseases and as well as the autoimmune diseases. So in nutshell, basically, the healthy microbiome.
And then a discussion, so you can go very quickly.
Oh. Are we waiting for the video?
We're waiting for you to quickly go over this slide.
Okay, yeah, so inflammation is higher in some people with depression. Whole food plant-based diet reduces inflammation, antioxidants, phytochemical, and promotes a balanced neurotransmitter system. Elimination of animal food.
But with the animal, the muscles have a capacity to store muscle memory and biomemory. So when the animals are killed, they leave a tremendous pain, suffering. They are not going to say, let the whole world be blissful and die. No. They leave so much of suffering.
In summary, we've seen that the brain physiology, through functioning, structure, chemistry, and gut health are crucial for mental health. And lifestyle changes are critical and sustainable. And objective scientific information now is available showing that yoga and meditation actually expands parts of the brain which are vital for mental health. And the plant-based diet also improves that brain-gut chemistry to improve. Discuss how the Hindu lifestyle practices that Swamiji is promoting have made an impact in our mental well-being. And so maybe if we'd like to go ahead and start, maybe Dr. Pandav can talk about what is Nirahara Samyama and how his experience that he's had with that. And this was something that's completely new to me. I think only Swamiji talks about this. I had been practicing different Hindu spiritual practices and lifestyle measures, but this was something completely different. So I definitely experienced very similar to Dr. Pandav. Of course, there was weight loss, but that feeling of lightness and energy was definitely there. And it turned out it really wasn't as difficult as one thought. After the first day or two, it actually was not difficult to sustain. And definitely the mind was.
So I had to take antihistamine all the time. And it actually affected my work style as well. So it was, I think, about 12 years ago, Swamiji introduced the Nirahara Samyama, 12, 13 years ago. The first time I did the Nirahara Samyama, after that, it's completely gone. I don't take any antihistamines. I'm completely, and after that I did 2 times of Nirahara. Even with the first time, it disappeared. I was really.
Because we are running out of time, I'm going to go through this very briefly. But what Dr. Aranke and others like Dr. Pandav, all of them discussed, is that it's a simple change in lifestyle can lead to an amazing improvement in mental health, in physical and mental health. And part of changing lifestyle is not only practicing yoga, and unfortunately, we're not going to be practicing any of the yoga asanas today because it's difficult to demonstrate in this particular venue, so that your tongue is sticking out like this. And then deeply inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose, right? Like this. So inhale through your tongue and then exhale through your nose. You will see that this instantly, you will feel that the feeling of coolness in your chest. How many of you feel that deep cooling happening in your chest? You actually feel it there, right there. It's such an instantaneous, just long to breathe out, then breathe in. So count breathing in. If you count breathing in 5 times, breathe out till the count of 10. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Close your left nostril and breathe out through your right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now breathe in through your right nostril again. The last technique is called Brahmari Pranayama. It's an amazing technique to clear your mind of anxiety-inducing thoughts. And Swamiji has given this reference. And this reference, you can go search for it online. It's a humming meditation. Essentially what you do is you hum. Typically you have to close your eyes, nose, and mouth. And you will start feeling in the center of your forehead, you will start feeling a constant buzz. And that buzz will start clearing out all the thoughts in your mind. Right? It's a very beautiful technique that just flushes negative thoughts and anxiety from your head and just fills it with the hum that is a pure thought, nothing else, right? Let's try doing this for a few times. Okay, relax. How many of you could feel the humming reverberate inside your head even after the humming, you stop humming? Right? You would feel that humming inside your face and in your chest. So the more you practice it, if you do it for like 21 minutes, Okay. Here I'm going to talk about sustainable mental health and AI. I have practiced, AI for a very long time, and I've applied AI to multiple different domains. And most recently, I've applied AI to education. And AI is an amazing area and if you have a phone and if you have internet access, unfortunately, more and more people around the world are getting access to the internet. Having access to free spiritual AI solutions online is actually a great way for us to give mental health access to people. Let's go to the next slide. Today's AI is actually super powerful working through today, but if we overcome these challenges, using AI at scale for helping people with mental health is a very powerful solution. With that, I want to say a little bit about Nithyananda.ai. This is actually a solution that Nithyananda Kailasa has developed as a scalable solution for people video. For example, I'm asking the question whenever I even stay at work a little bit late, I notice that I'm very anxious about how my wife will feel. What do I do about it? This AI makes use of the, if you can pause the video here, Peter, to message that it helps you understand that you are a whole and you can't divide yourself into different personalities. Can we press play again? The next question is about about facing stress and suggesting yoga and meditation techniques. If you can fast forward this, maybe 10 more seconds. Yeah, so the next example is about, oops, we went too far. Yeah, this next section is about asking for yoga and meditation.
Mental health issues, incident causes, solutions, and understanding the unique challenges and holistic approaches. The National Institute of Mental Health here shows the incidence of mental illness among women. 1 in 5 women experience a mental health issue every year. Women are diagnosed with anxiety and depression twice as men. 25.7 stress, anxiety, and depression. Gender-based violence, women are more likely to experience domestic violence, sexual assault, and emotional abuse. Social pressures and roles, women often face societal expectations to fulfill multiple roles like caregiver, professional, and homemaker. And body image issues like living in the era of social media on beauty concepts and appearance leads to eating disorder, low self-esteem becomes a vicious cycle. So when we look at the modern day approaches for treatment, it can be varying from psychotherapy to hospitalization. Depending on the severity of the mental illness, psychotherapy is mainly for the mild problems. It's called a talk therapy or counseling. And medications can be antidepressant, anti-anxiety medications, mood stabilizers, and antipsychotic. There are 70 different where transcranial magnetic stimulation can be used for depression. Sometimes hospitalization when women become danger to themselves and others, and also it's an expensive way of treating mental illness. So many of these current treatments primarily focus on symptom management rather than addressing the underlying jurisprudence. Says where women are worshipped, there the gods rejoice to the welfare of humanity. On the other hand, where they are not honored, all rights are futile. The second one by His Divine Holiness, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Nithyananda Paramashivam, his presidential address on November 7th, 2021, where the legislative chambers put their views on forefront. So women hold 80% of leadership positions in Kailasa. While Kailasa's policy stipulates that 33% legislative positions should be held by women, currently women make up 90% of the governance in Kailasa. So when we empower women, they can be great leaders. Policy against sexual harassment and exploitation, and it creates the most safest environment for women on planet Earth. At social prominence, Swamiji has worked tirelessly for gender equality. And pregnancy is a great program where it supports pregnant women for having a painless delivery and a blissful birthing experience. So by looking at all this, empowering women's projects happening in Kailasa is very powerful.
Energy can be given the word. Only feminine energy can be given the title, it's sacred, because when it is awakened, it does so much. Only the feminine energy need to be awakened, only that can be called as sacred. Let me define the sacred feminine. Understand? The extraordinary creativity. Creativity will never be possessive.
I want to share only after being part of the Kailasa, multiple initiations from Swamiji, the multi-dimension of myself that we realize, and also that I want to give a true statement here to all the viewers and listeners to hear that I'm well known for my surgery in my hospital and where I'm practicing. And after being with Swamiji for almost about 20 years, none of my patients need pain medicine and none of my patients need narco. And it's his initiation, prevent and treat all kinds of mental disorders, not only for women, it's for everyone. It relieves unresolved emotions and past traumas, building resilience, and improving healthy relationship, and leads to an empowered life.
For their food and paying the bills. No, maybe it is true for the people who are sitting in Kailasa and enjoying the happy, free life. All kinds of thought currents will come inside. Sit, have a little patience, listen to yourself and start pinning down precisely what all resistance, anger, fear, guilt, powerlessness, what all is getting blurted out, vomited by your immature mind. Listen, pen down. Just sit in front of the mirror and declare simple integrity to me. Start chanting Mahavagya and remember this powerful cognition, today's cognition.
Talk about children and mental health issues.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Sailesh Patel. I'm a psychiatrist practicing in California. So as adult and women, children also have unique challenges for mental health. And we have the next slide. So I have here some of the fact sheets from World Health Organization. We'll quickly go over. 1 in 7, 10 to a 19-year-old experience mental disorders. And another alarming number is 13% all these challenges. To address these challenges, it is crucial to address it at an early age. And prevention is one of the key components. Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Bhagavan Sri Nithyananda Paramasivam, had given solution of supplementing conventional education with Hindu education system, which is mind-body consciousness based on narrow rubrics. This mind-body consciousness-based education empowers children and helps them feel powerful. It encourages students to travel, discover, invent, their own methodologies and take leadership roles in early life. Can we have next slide? So in next few slides, I have summarized some of the case studies done on students at Nithyananda Gurukul, where Hindu education system is integrated with conventional educational. Here is the result of whole brain activation studies for which Bender Gestalt test was performed. This test assesses fell into category of genius and very high superior intelligence, IQ score of 120 and above. So it shows very impressive numbers. Next category, intellectual maturity compared to exact sustainable development. Okay, I hand over to next speaker.
Thank you so much, Dr. Patel. And I'm going to very quickly do our conclusion. Thank you so much to everyone who's made it all the way through. Leader in the study of mental health, of enlightenment, and of superconsciousness. And we very sincerely and formally and informally invite anyone who's interested in researching this possibility, this phenomena that I think is available here in ways it's not been described otherwise, in stress, extreme improvement in well-being, mindfulness, and overall health. That program is ongoing. You can find it at parameshivahom.org. So we invite policymakers, we invite academicians, and other politicians, anyone, to contact us to see how we can bring this to the world to attain and achieve the UN Sustainable Development Goals and bring higher possibilities of mental health and overall life and potential to the global community. So with that, thank you so much for everyone who came. If you're able, please.
The science of kriyas.
Blood flow, breathing air flow, thought flow. You have something called energy flow continuously happening in you. In this energy circulation, energy flow, if there is a disturbance in some part, for example liver, kidney or heart, intestine, at some part, if there is a disturbance.
For Kundalini energy, in the Vedic tradition, the Kundalini energy is the innate, immense potential energy in every individual that helps complete the energy circuit. How does Kundalini energy reach different parts of the body? Let us take the example of a water tank. A water tank is a structure which stores to remove the energy blockage and restore the energy flow. When the body is aligned in certain postures during kriyas, the energy block is removed. Once the block is removed, the kumbhaka pumps in the Kundalini energy, just as the water gets pumped in to the pipeline once the block is removed. When the energy flow is re-established, energy starts flowing and the disease is healed.
Now, if your body is put in certain position, that energy blockages get removed. Simple. On which kriya works.
Kriyas are a unique combination of asanas, pranayamas, and kumbhakas, wherein they are more effective and the individual asana.
7 ingredients. 1, yoga. 2nd, kumbhaka, pranayamas. 3rd, visualizations. 4th, verbalization, means chanting of some mantra internally. See, internally when you create the sound, it's called mantra. Externally when you listen, it's called chanting. So, mantra, internal verbalization. 5th, chanting, external, the sound you are hearing. And 6th, now I am adding karanas, the different Shivatandava karanas. 7th, I am adding the lead
3 steps. It actually builds on top of what we did before, right? Earlier we learned how to do Nadi Shodhana, which is breathe in through one nostril, breathe out through the other nostril, breathe in through that nostril and breathe out. So that's one thing we learned. We're going to do that first. Then the second step is you sit in a special posture. Do we have the picture of that posture? There is a posture, I shared a picture yesterday. The humming is something I already shared with you before. And so the third step is lie down, and in the bliss of the hum, the humming creates intense humming in your body. It creates an elevated feeling. Just lie down with that feeling and unclutch from everything. So I've taught you unclutching like before. We started off the session with it. I taught you that alternate nostril breathing, and I taught lying down and unclutching. And typically this combination of these three, doing this before you go to sleep, is very, very powerful. It'll de-stress your entire body very beautifully. Okay, let's start with Nadi Shodhana. If Peter, you could play the music, with your thumb, close your right nostril. Play the music to Peter. Thanks. Now, lie down. When you unclutch from that, you will start hearing your own body sound, breathing, heartbeat. Unclutch from that also. Fall into a deep silence. surface level. I mean, there is a lot of depth to the meditation, mind, body, consciousness studies. But we just wanted to share some experiential, some experiences with you, so you can find out for yourself. So I hope you can practice this meditation before going to sleep every day.
United Nations going forward. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming, and have a beautiful rest of your evening.
Thank you so much.